All right, good morning. Today we'll be dealing on calculus and we have some general rules for differentiation. Okay, and the first rule, we have some basic rule for differentiation. The first one is the general rule for differentiation, and number two, we have the product rule, the quotient rule, function of a function. Either you call it function or a function, you can call it the composite rule, or you can also call it the chain rule. Okay, so these are what we'll be dealing on this morning. Okay, now we are going to work with the first one, which is the general rules for differentiation. Now, for the general rules for differentiation, we are going to be taking some questions under that. But first of all, whenever we have, if our y equals to x raised to power n, our dy dx is equals to nx n minus 1. Okay, that is the general rules for differentiation. Or if y equals to a sn, it says thing as dy dx equals to an s n minus 1. So in terms of the general rules for differentiation, is very easy. What you do, your a there represent what the coefficient. A represent the coefficient, while the n there represent the what? The power, or you can call it the index, or you can call it what? The exponent. All right. So whenever you are given a questions in the general rules for differentiation, it's very easy. What happens is that you multiply the coefficient with the power, and the power decrease by 1. You multiply the coefficient with the power. That's why we are having what? A times n. Then you still have your variable there, x, then n minus what? 1. That's the general rules for what? For differentiation. Okay, so we are going to be taking some questions under this then before we move to our product what? Rule. All right. Now, if we are given a question that's find dy dx, find dy dx of the following. All right, number one, we are given y equals to s cubed. All right, y equals to s cubed. Now don't forget, I have invisible one here. So this is the thing as dy dx equals to 1 times 3 s 3 minus 1. So we give us what? 1 times 3 give us 3x. 3 minus 1 we give us what? 2. So that is for that. Then number 2 question. If we are given y equals to 3s squared. Alright. So our dy dx, okay, is going to be, what you do, you multiply this with this, which is 3 times 2. Then we have s 2 minus 1. And 3 times 2 is going to give us what? 6. Then s 2 minus 1 is 18 as 1. We is 18 as what? 6x. Alright. So number 3 of it, y equals to s10. So dy dx is equals to 1 times 10 s 10 minus 1. So we give us 10 s 9. Okay. Then the number 4. Y equals to 5s4. So this is something as dy dx equals to 5 times 4 s 4 minus 1. Always minus 1 from the word, from the power or from the index. 5 times 4 is stating as what? 20s cube. Okay, then number 5, if we have y equals to 7x, don't forget I have invisible 1 here, so this is stating as dy dx equals to 7 times 1 x 1 minus 1. So 7 times 1 is stating as 7, then x 1 minus 1 is stating as what? 0. So from there it becomes 7 times anything raised to power 0 in indices is equivalent to 1. So this is stating as times 1, and 7 times 1 is stating as what? 7. So whenever you are differentiating of any value, okay, with a variable, differentiation of it still give you that same value. If it's 100x, dy dx of it is stating as 100. If it's 25x, dy dx of it is stating as what? 25. So that's it. Okay, don't forget the power, you have invisible 1. 1 minus 1 you have 0, and anything raised to power 0 is equivalent to what? 1, and 1 times anything you have that same thing. All right. So let's move straight to the number 6 question. Now, whenever you are differentiating a constant, okay, differentiation of a constant is equivalent to what? To 0. That is a constant, that is when it does not have any what? A variable attached to it. That is dy ds is stating as 0. If it's y equals to 25, so dy ds of it is stating as what? 0, because there's no s there, there's no alphabet there, there's no variable there. So that's it. Alright, whenever you are differentiating a constant, okay, differentiation of it is what? Is 0. Alright, now that you know the basic process, okay, of the general rules, so let's move down to differential coefficient of a sum. All right, so number 1 question, if you are asked find dy dx, find dy dx of y equals to x4 plus 3x squared minus 5x squared plus 6x plus 9. All right. So this is differential coefficient of what? Of a sum. Now we are combining everything to what? Together. Now that you know the basic process, this one will be what? A walkover. All right. We are differentiating y in respect to what? What variable do you have here? Is x. So you are differentiating y in respect to s. If you are having like m here, it's stating as dy dm. If you are having any variable there, if it's p, is dy dp. If it's t, dy dt. So like that and like that. So this stating as dy, then dx. Okay, I have a visible 1 here. It's stating as 1 times 4. S, 4 minus 1. Then plus, this stating as 3 times 2. S, 2 minus 1. Then minus 5 times 2. X, 2 minus 1. Then plus 6 times, I have a visible 1 here. Then s, 1 minus 1, then plus a constant without variable is what? Is 0. So from there, dy dx, it becomes 4s cubed, then plus 6x1, 2 minus 1 is 1, minus 10x1, then plus 6x, 1 minus 1 give you what? 0. So final answer becomes 4s cubed plus 6x minus 10x, then plus 6 times what? 1. So we give us 4s cubed then plus 6s minus 10s. Then it will give us what? Plus minus what? 4x. Then plus 6. Then at the end of the day, you are going to add 4s cubed. Plus minus give you what? Minus. Then 4x. Then plus 6. So that is the final answer. Alright. So let's move to number 2 question. Y equals to 12s cubed minus 6x minus 2. So to get the y ds of it, it becomes 12 times 3, x, 3 minus 1. Then minus 6 times, I have a visible one here, x, 1 minus 1, minus 0. So from there, we have 12 times 3, which is 36. Then x, 3 minus 1 give us what? 2. Then minus 6x, 1 minus 1 give us 0. So our final answer become 36x squared minus 6 times 1. So we give us 36x squared minus what? 6. So that's our answer. So number 3 of it, if we have y equals to root x. Okay, whenever you have a question like this, what happens? You have to break down this word root. Anything root is taken as half. If it's cube root, it's taken as 1 over 3. If it's fourth root, it's taken as 1 over 4. This is taken as square root. Either you write it like this or the 2 remain what? Invisible. So it's taken as 1 over what? 2. Alright. So from here, it becomes y equals to x half. So from there, dy dx is equal to, I have a visible 1 here. It's taken as 1 times 1 over 2. X, 1 over 2 minus 1. So we give us 1 over 2 x. This is 1 over 2 minus 1. This is over 1. The LCM of 2 and 1 is 18 as 2. So it becomes 1 over 2x. Then 2 going to 2 is 1. And 1 times 1 is 1. 1 going to 2 is 2. 2 times minus 1 is minus 2. All over the LCM, which is 2. So we give us 1 over 2. Then x. 1 minus 2 is 18 as minus 1 all over 2. Now this is the same thing as, now in indices, one of the rules for indices, which is negative index, is that whenever you have a raised to power minus n, it's sitting at 1 all over a raised to power n. That if you have 2 raised to power minus 3, it's sitting at 1 over 2 raised to power 3. The negative there is the one that is representing the 1 over. You still have the normal what? A raised to power n. You still have a normal 2 raised to power what? 3. So your 1 over there is the one that represented the what? The reciprocal sign, which is the negative. Okay, so from there, either you leave your answer like this. This is sitting as 1 over 2, then times 1 over s half. So we give us 1 over 2 times 1 over. So from there, then it becomes, which is 1 over 2 times 1 all over root x. So from there, 1 times 1 is 18 as 1 all over 2 root x. So that is the answer. So let's move down to the next one. So if you are given y equals to 1 over s squared. So this is 18 as y equals to s minus 2. So dy dx of it becomes 1 times minus 2s minus 2 minus 1. And 1 times minus 2 will give us minus 2s minus 3. So this is 18 and minus 2 then times 1 all over s cubed. So we give us minus 2 over s cubed. So that is our answer. Alright, for the next one, if you are given 5s squared minus 6 over x. So this setting as y equals to 5s squared minus 6x minus 1. So from there, it becomes dy dx equals to 5 times 2 s 2 minus 1. Then minus 6 times minus 1 s minus 1 minus 1. 5 times 2 will give us what? 10s. Then minus 6 times minus 1 give us plus 6. Then s minus 2. So from there you can leave your answer like this, or you can leave it as 10x plus 6 all over s squared. So that's your final answer. Then for the next question, if we have y equals to 5s4 minus cos x, then plus 2. So this is written as dy dx equals to 5 times 4x, 4 minus 1. And in my previous video, under general principle, okay, whenever you are differentiating your sign, you have cos x. But if you differentiate your cos s, you have minus sin s. So you can go back to my previous video and watch that. So from there, this is written as minus bracket minus sin s. Whenever you differentiate a constant is what? 0. So from there it becomes what? 20s cubed minus minus give us what? Plus sin x. So that is your answer. Alright. So let's move down to the last questions. Under differential coefficients of the sum. And the last question there, if you are given y equals to 4s cubed minus 3s squared over 4 minus 7. So this is written as dy dx equals to 4 times 3 s 3 minus 1. Okay, minus 3 over 4 times 2 s 2 minus 1, then minus 0. So 4 times 3 give us 12s squared, then minus 6 over 4 s1 minus anything minus 0, you have that same thing. So this is written as 12s squared. Then 2 going to 6 is written as 3, and 2 going to 4 is written as 2x. So that is our answer. Thank you very much. So that's all for the general rule for differentiation. So in our next video, we are going to move down to other rules like product rule, quotient rule, and function of a function. Please endeavor to subscribe to my channel and also share with your loved ones who are in high school, secondary schools, okay? And maybe they might be finding calculation very difficult, like calculus, physics, chemistry. In this my channel, calculation made easy. Thank you very much.